Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these gorgeous little baby mittens. Now these are in 3 sizes, you can see. They're like 0 to 3 months. Then you've got a 3 to 6 and a 6 to 9, possibly up to a year. It's quite big, those ones. And I'm going to show you how you can do these different sizes with the one pattern. Now, I recently made some baby booties, and this is to go with those. It's like a little set. I'm aiming to do a little hat as well if I can get round to doing that, that is. Got lots going on. But for now, I'm going to show you how to make these. Now, this is the one that we're going to do the partner of today. And this is made with James C. Brett Flutterby Chunky. And the reason I've chosen this is a chenille yarn, but it is quite drapey. Some of the chenille yarns, they're all chunky, which is a bulky 5, but some of them are quite stiff and sturdy, whereas this one is lovely to work with. It's really willowy. So I've, as I say, made the booties already out of the same yarn, and I'm going to make this one here. And all you have to do is change the hook size. I'll show you. So for the smallest one and this one here, I used a 4.5mm crochet hook. Now you might think that's quite a small hook to use with a chunky chenille yarn, but I wanted it to be quite close crochet without being stiff. That's why I chose the Flutterby. And again, the booties were made with a 4mm, so those were quite nice and sturdy as well. But the larger one, this one here, exactly the same sort of pattern, just a few little differences, and I made that with a 5mm crochet hook. So I'm going to clear all my stuff out of the way and get ready to show you how to do this. So while I'm doing that, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And just a little word that all of the stuff that you can see today, the hooks, the darning needles and scissors and all the yarn, is available at hobbyrocks.co.uk. Now there is a link in the description box and a voucher code, and this yarn is also on special offer anyway, but you can still use the voucher code, which is valid until the end of December. If you're watching this after December, there will be another voucher code in the description box anyway. I've always got one that's going on, but this is actually quite reasonably priced yarn in any case. So I'm going to clear this out the way then, and I'll come back to you as soon as I've done that. Okay, so before I begin, if you didn't want to make any of the same sort of mitten with a chenille yarn, I do have a set of chunky baby mittens also, which I'll try to remember to put a link to at the end of the video, and I'll when all the videos pop up, the 4 come in, and I will also put my booties if you want to make those. So we start by doing a magic loop. Now if I do a really easy magic loop, and I've got a short and tutorials that show it, but it's very easy. You just make a ring, simple as that, put the hook in, bring the yarn through and do a chain, and you've done your magic loop. Simple as that. So I'm going to do a total of 9 half trebles, which is a UK term. It's half double in the US. So for this size, we make 9. For this size, we make 8. And for this size, we make 10. So we've got 8, 9, 10. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to do 9 of those inside this loop, working over that tail. And I'm going to assume you know how to do the stitches involved. And just, if you need, if you feel like this is getting a little kind of crowded, then you can just pull that. If you think this is going to get compromised, you can just pull it a little bit and then work over the tail. So I'm going to pause it for a second and I'll come back to you when I've finished my 9 stitches. Okay, so I've done my 9, so I'm just going to give this a little tug. That's the only trouble with this yarn, it does tuft, but there we go. I've cinched that shut and I'm just going to slip stitch into my very first one. Okay, simple as that, and we've got our ring. Now, a lot of people, the criticism they have of this kind of yarn and fluffy yarn is that they can't really see the stitches, but this is fine because we can go in between them. That's the beauty of this. So I'm going to do my chain. I'm going to cinch it down a little bit because I don't want it to get confused with a stitch. So in each one, in each space in between them, I'm going to do 2. So I'm going to increase in every stitch round, just like we would if we were making a hat, for instance. So by the end of this, I will have 18 stitches. You can see the dent where the stitch is, and if you have any confusion, you can just feel your way. The beauty of this project is it's nice and small, so it's quite easy to do that. So I'm going to pause it again. I'm going to go in 2 in between each one, and I'll catch up with you when you get here, and you should have 18 stitches. Obviously, if you're making the smaller size, you would have 16, and if you're making the large size, you would have 20. Okay, so here we are, we're back at the start. I'm just going to do a slip stitch into the first one, and we only need to increase 1 more stitch, and that's not just yet. So I'm going to do a chain and I'm going to cinch it down again. Now we're going to do 1 in every single stitch around. So nice and simple. Now you will notice that it will start to cup and turn up on itself. So that's nice and simple. You can go between the stitches again if you can't see the part to go into. That's the beauty of this yarn. If you're doing a project like this where you can just go between, and because it's nice and fluffy, you won't see anything, so you don't know where you've been. See what I mean about it cupping? Okay, now I'm going to pause the video and I'll catch up with you when I get back here, and you should still have your 19 stitches. Well, if you're making this size, you'll still have the others respectively if you're making the others. Okay, so we're all the way back, and as you can see, it's starting to cup. Now between this stitch and our first, I'm going to do 1 more stitch, and that will bring us up to 20 stitches. Okay, so now I'm going to slip stitch in. So if you were making the smaller one, you would still do that extra stitch, and in the larger. So you will have 21 stitches in the larger size, and you will have 17 stitches in the small one, and you'll have 20 stitches for this one. Now I've turned it into the right way. It was cupping this way, so all I've done is pop it round. So we're now working on the right side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do no more increasing at all, just going around, slip stitching and going around. Some people like to spiral, but if that's what you want to do, then that's fine, you can do that. But if you want to do, I just make the seam on these, it doesn't really matter. That's very forgiving yarn, it's very fluffy and forgiving. So what we want to do is we want to carry on until we have, for the small size, 8 rounds. For the medium size, which is this one, we're going to have 9 rounds. And for the large one, we're going to have 10 rounds. So it is hard to count them, but you can do it. You've got 1, 2, 3. You can, sorry, I realised that. 1, 2, 3. You can just about see your rounds. So I'm going to pause it then, and I'm going to come back to you when I've done my last of my 9 rows. I've done 3 so far. I'm going to do another 6, and then I'll come back to you. So they're just no more increasing, just 1 in each stitch all the way around, and for another 6 rows. But if you're making the small one, obviously it will be for 5 rows, and if you're making the large one, it will be for what am I doing? 7 rows. Whoever said I was a professional? I'll be right back with you once I've done that. Okay, my bad. My maths is awful. Okay, so 2 9s are 18. We had 18 stitches, 1 extra is 19 on this one, not 20. So yeah, 21 on the large, 19 on this one, and 17 on the smaller size. Okay, I'll see you when I get there. Okay, here I am. And I always say with a thing like this, it doesn't matter if you lose a stitch here or gain a stitch there. This is the only round that actually does matter for. And the reason is we are now making this part here. Now, with the booties, I didn't make a gap. I made it so that you just did the tie through the stitches, and you can do that. But for these for mittens, I tend to like making a space. So this is how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my chain and cinch it down, and then I'm going to do 1 stitch, 1 chain, and then I'm going to skip 1 and do 1 in the next. 1 chain, skip 1 and put 1 in the next. You can see the dent where the next stitch is. I know it's kind of fluffy yarn, but it is quite nice and visible. And we're going to do that all the way around. Nice and simple. Might as well not bother to pause it because it's very quick. Nearly there. Okay, so we're going to do 1 chain, and then we're going to slip stitch into our first stitch. So we've come all the way round. Okay, so now we've made our tie round, and what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and we're just going to do 1 again in each of the stitches all the way around. So 1 in the post and 1 in the gap, because that's just 1 chain. 1 in the post and 1 in the gap. We're going to do that all the way around until we get back to the start again. So I will pause it on this round, and I just want you to carry on doing that. 1 in the post and 1 in the gap. Some people who can't find the post might benefit for just doing 2 in the gap. It would, as long as your stitch count will be the same when you get to the other end, if you can't find where to go into. But it is quite simple, you know. I do think you'll be able to manage that. But if you found it difficult, just do 2 in the gap. I will see you when we get back to the start, and you'll still have the same amount of stitches as you have been working with all the way through the body. Okay, so I'm more or less back. I just have to do 1 in the gap there, and then slip stitch into my first one. I'm going to do a chain, cinch it down, cut my yarn. It will tuft just a little bit, and pull it through. And now we're going to do the top, which I have just made 1 simple row of white double crochets in the UK, which is a single crochet in the US, and then just made the tie the same colour. So I'm just going to change the yarn over for a moment, and then I'll come straight back to you. Okay, so I'm back and I've got my white, and I have to say that I absolutely love the Flutterby in white. It's just looks like, I mean, my ball is a bit depleted now because I've been making so much with it, but it's just so snowy white. I really absolutely love the white in this. So I'm going to join it over here because I don't like to work over 2 tails if I don't have to. So I'm just going to pull this yarn through there, And I don't need to leave a massive tail. I'm going to work over it anyway. And I like to give it a little tie. Some people don't like to do that, but that's how I like to make sure that it is absolutely nice and snug. And if you want to give it 2 knots, you can. But I find this yarn is, once you've got your tail sewn in, it doesn't really pop out. Okay, so there we are. I'm going to work over the tail. I've done my little cinch down chain, so I'm going to go in the same stitch, pull it up, and I'm going to go in each and every one all the way around. I'm going to pull it up each time I do so that it's got a nice edge to it, and I'm going to work over the tail as I go round, just like that. Okay, so it does help to get the yarn. Okay, so that's what we're doing. I'm going to pause it then, and I'll catch up with you when we get back to the start. Okay, so I've made it all the way back, and all I have to do now is slip stitch into my first stitch and end off again. Now this is, and the beginning kind of magic loop, the only little bit of securing you need to do. Although I have been known to just not bother with the I'm going to tuck that in there for now rather than sew it in. And I'm going to show you how we do the tie. So here we are. This is what we're doing now. It does look smaller, doesn't it? But that's probably because I've been not manoeuvring it as much as the other one. Okay, so I find around 45 chain is enough. Now you don't need to leave a long tail because I just snip it off. It's quite... if I say it's quite easy, that didn't work out at all. That one wouldn't move. It's very sometimes it moves really, it flows really well, like that one. There you go. Other times not. Okay, so I'm going to do 45 chain. Now when you're making the smaller size, you might find that that's too many, so you might want to cut it down. But it's just a case of a little bit of trial and error. If one tie you make too long, then scrap that and make a new one. If you want, you can make it out of ribbon. I try to make the tie the same colour as the edging, just to make it look a little nicer. Okay, so I'm going to pause it then because I can't count, and there will be a big silence. So I'll come back to you once I've done that. Okay, so now what I do is I'm going to thread this through. So I want to leave this one and start with the one next to it. And I'm just going to pop that in and thread it through, just like I'm lacing up some shoes or something. Don't bring that with you. I'll sew that in a bit later, so everybody knows how to sew their ends in. So we come back out the other side of the one we ignored in the first place. I'm just going to pull a little bit more that side to get them a little more even. Now what I normally do with this yarn, because they'll say it doesn't usually come undone, it's quite good, and that little tuft usually falls off the end. But you know, should your let's get this out of the way, should your tie not be quite right, you can always make another one. So then just make a little bow as with the other one. Just play with the size really of the tie, and there you go. We have two that match. So this one's been pulled about a little bit where I've been working with it and showing it and everything, but there you are, two bunnies, two little mittens. Okay, thank you for watching. Of course, everything to do with the sizes will be in the description box below. I will let you know small, medium and large. The different sizes and the amount of stitches and the amount of rows and everything will be in the bottom, and I won't get it wrong because I won't be under pressure to get my maths right on camera. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. As I said before, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Bye for now.